It's a new year. It's a year B. It's a year of Mark. Mark is in a hurry as ever, so we shall be too. Welcome to Kelvin, currently I think in Wellington.
Rolleston.
Heard of the place, Rolleston? Yeah, that's right. Currently in Rolleston. Wendy in Wellington. Emma actually just around the corner from me, a few corners in the kind of Okatipu. And lovely to have the three of you starting off this year of Mark. Kelvin, a little bit of background to this quite important and urgent passage from Mark.
Well, this is it's a bitsy passage, little bits and pieces all over the place, and it's the start of Jesus's ministry, and it's the start of this theme of Mark's that nobody actually knows what Jesus is on about. And that includes Jesus's immediate family, the people in his synagogue, the people who have been disciples of his. And what you get through this passage is the great messianic secret, where Jesus forbids people to tell others who he is. Because I guess Mark's point here is that none of them actually understand who he is, and whatever they're going to say about him is not going to be the truth, so why would you spread that around? But you have Jesus forbidding a number of people. He forbids the people who have been healed from saying who he is. Particularly, he forbids the demons from saying who he is, these forces of evil, who may have a very clear idea of his importance, but will actually have a jaundiced view of him. He forbids his disciples and his family from telling people who he is. And we also have this portrayal of Jesus retiring to pray, because this is the lifeblood of his ministry. And we have a picture in this little passage of Peter not understanding the importance of that and actually upbraiding him for wasting his time heading off into the wilderness. And there's the picture of the conversation with Peter is quite illuminating about Jesus's attitude too, that he understands the incompleteness of people's views, and he doesn't upbraid Peter for his ignorance. He just invites him to keep on walking. The language of this passage is sort of intense and energetic and episodic, which is what the whole Gospel of Mark is like. And it's the invitation to these people who are surrounding Jesus and to us, not to think that we've made it or understand, but to embark on this journey which Jesus is going to lead us on.
One of the things I love about Mark is this instinctive storyteller, and you've encapsulated so much of that. He's just thrown a whole lot of things out, and let's explore them in some depth now and go to you first, Emma, and say, what do you find is challenging about this passage?
On first sight, I found this challenging to actually get beyond it reminds me of the stories that 7-year-olds write. Then we went and did this, then we went and did this, then we went and did this. And there's so little of the background as to why he's doing this or what he's trying to achieve as a result of this. And I appreciate your introduction there, Kelvin. That gives a more placing of this, and you can feel Jesus's desperation to kind of get to as many people as possible in a way. The first obvious challenge, of course, is the whole of its time sexist thing of the minute the woman is healed, she immediately leaps up and starts serving them, and that straight away the hackles are up for me. So I tried to find a way of reinterpreting that. You could look at it as actually it would have been an honor, and it would be an honor for anybody, male, female, or whoever, to serve Jesus and his disciples. Would it matter that it was a woman doing that? No, I think these days anyone would want to do that. Or you could look at it in another light of not only was she healed, but she was healed well enough not to need any convalescence period. She's immediately able to get up and go back to doing what her normal life is. So that's not just a kind of she's getting better. It's a real moment of complete turnaround in how she is feeling. And if you interpret the passage like that, it has a lot fewer of the challenging misogynistic characteristics.
Thank you for putting the misogynism out there. I think that's really important. It is absolutely a hurdle we need to overcome. So, Wendy, let's ask you about this passage and the challenge.
I think for me, the greatest challenge is, if you think about Jesus's first night of ministry or his first day of ministry, because essentially that's what Mark's presenting to us, the raging success that, of course, that it is. Demons are cast out, people are healed, restored back to their social standing. Everything is going great for him. And he says, no. And Peter says, where are you going? What are you doing? You're out in the wilderness. I need you here. The crowd's here. Come back. It's all going to be great. And Jesus says, no, I've got to move on. So, like for those of us who are in the ministry, this idea that somehow we become successful and the crowds come to us, or people start coming to church, or however you judge success. Jesus is saying, no, actually, my ministry is moving on. So is that a reminder to me about not feeling secure within a place and just saying, no, the ministry that I have is also like Jesus's. It's about moving on. Am I moving outward to find people?
And certainly with Mark, we're not going to find that he's sitting around, are we?
No.
Nope.
It's wonderful energy. Kelvin, when you read it, and you and I are the blokes encountering this, but it's still challenging, isn't it?
For me, the challenge is, I echo what Wendy says, that this thing we get caught up in ministry of success and the number of people who are around us and the busyness that we've got. And the disciples are sort of caught up in that, gosh, wow, look at all this that's happening, aren't we great? But for Jesus, these are incidental side effects of his ministry. And his ministry is this deep path which he is inviting the people around him to follow and inviting me to follow. And I'm aware when ministry becomes, I guess you would say, successful, it becomes extraordinarily busy, and you lose that deep path. You lose what gives it its worth and purpose. So the challenge for me is to always keep sight of what this is actually all about.
And Mark certainly emphasizes that, drops that importance, the centrality of prayer and God connection into that, even for the Son, the Messiah of God. So let's go and explore where we're going to find good news. And I'm going to ask you, Wendy, first of all, is there good news here?
Absolutely, there's great news here, and that is that Jesus' ministry, because he does what his Father instructs him to do, or what comes natural to him, is around healing people, making people whole, and restoring people to their community, to their social standing. And so it's a reminder for us, are we including healing, praying for healing for people in our ministry, and finding a balance in our ministry? Are we spending time with the Father in prayer? Is that the central focus for us? And just being mindful that his way of spreading the good news, because the way the good news spread about him was that he healed people. So, when we are doing ministry, am I offering people a way of spreading the good news through healing?
Absolutely, and not limiting that verb, that sense of healing, it's a noun, in any way at all. Emma, where would you draw good news here? It seems to be there.
Absolutely, there's a lot of it. The fact that Jesus healed everybody, unless I've misread my Bible, I don't think there's an example anywhere in there of somebody being brought to him for being healing and him going, actually, no, you're not good enough, you're not acceptable. Everybody is included in this. And what particularly struck me in a COVID-19 era, not only does he choose to heal a woman, he goes into her room, which obviously is, slightly dubious anyway, but then this woman has a fever and he takes her hand. And these days of COVID and PPE and nobody going near anybody to touch anybody who's got anything vaguely dodgy these days, that when you see it in that context, the fact that he's welcoming and open and will actually physically go and sit with and spend time with somebody. He doesn't know her. She's a woman, and yet she is still worthy of his time and effort and energies. And yeah, you can tell how tired Jesus is getting. He needs his solitude. He's healing all these people. He's full on. And yet each person matters to him.
That is lovely. And you've opened a kind of creative Pandora's box there, because overcoming the zeitgeist of the time where we're really terrified of contact, and yet we must not be. Kelvin.
Well, the good news for me is here is a message that's so deep and profound that none of the people around him and us are going to completely understand it. We're on a journey to a destination that we're never going to reach, as the old cliche goes. And this profundity is nevertheless accompanied by transformation of a bewildering array of people and a restoration of them to their lives in very real and practical ways. People are restored, people are healed, people are given their relationships back. And for me, that's profound good news. This is not just an idea. This is something which transforms lives and restores us to who we actually are.
That's a powerful phrase. While you're on a roll there, Kelvin, let's ask you then about application. So what?
The so what is this deep thread which runs in Jesus' life, the life of prayer, which he has to return to time and time again to give himself the energy and to give himself, I guess you'd say, the reserves to be able to carry on this powerful work that he seems to be doing 7 days a week, 24 hours of the day. And the so what for me is, how is my life being shaped by that deep stream, and where am I looking for that, and where am I finding it?
Spoken like a true spiritual director, because it's incredibly important and we rush so much. Or maybe I'm speaking just for me, but Wendy, for you, so what?
So what? One of the things, there's a couple of things. One is about that Jesus is found. He seeks solitude first in a house, and then he's being asked to heal someone, and then people come to him, and then he goes out into the wilderness and he's found again. People actively seek him. So he's not a hidden Jesus. He's always, I think, easy to find for people, but also that I think he wants us to minister to people that we don't even know yet, because that's his whole idea of moving on. It's like he doesn't know who they are or where they are. He just says, no, we just keep moving, just keep moving. And I think that for us as followers of Jesus, and is that perpetual motion of moving towards Jesus.
Well, you should mention that one of my favorite and quite controversial renditions, portrayals of Jesus as Godspell, doesn't stop, keeps on moving. Maybe that's a heresy, but you're right. I think this is the energy, and Mark especially encapsulates that. So let's go to you, Emma, and hear your so what.
The favorite part of my personal favorite part of this passage isn't so much the healing and the preaching and the people because all that is kind of full on, and speaking personally, I'm someone who does need those moments of solitude, and deliberate solitude as well, not just happening to find yourself by yourself, but Jesus deliberately chooses to go off into the wilderness. He finds himself a place of solitude and healing, and deliberately chooses to go and recharge his batteries. And that's something that it's actually quite hard to do in this modern world. You do when you're working full time, when you've got family, when there's things happening, you get immediately sucked down into all of that, and the minute you step away, it's just a kind of but to be able to almost be given permission to step away and deliberately take those moments of solitude to think, to pray, to just to kind of work out where next, I think is incredibly encouraging, that we're encouraged to do that by Jesus having taken the time to do that for himself.
Powerful stuff from the very beginning of our year of Mark, at least in terms of the gospel conversations, being reminded to take some God time. Emma, Wendy, Kelvin, thank you for breaking open this energized beginning to Mark's story, near beginning to Mark's story of Jesus. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.